Okay, my friend, we're going to start with the Carabao Cup final. The first piece of silverware dished out in the domestic leagues. 70 years since Newcastle last won a domestic cup. And, I mean, we watched a game in between the Premier League games. There was a bit of a break, so we found a spot. We rocked up. We watched a game. I was sort of so impressed how Newcastle started the game, Rob. They looked in control of themselves emotionally. Thought they had a really high press. I thought they played with physicality and intensity. And I kind of thought to myself, probably can't keep this going for 90 minutes. But I've got to be honest, I thought it was an outstanding performance, an outstanding result. And I think, Rob, you'll talk to what this actually means to this football club, the supporters, and Eddie Howe and the group of players.
Rob, I mean, I'm smiling because what a great game it was, and what a great day it was, and what a great reminder of how brilliant football is, and English football, and competing for trophies. There's always talk about reducing the games and getting rid of the League Cup. But when you see the game today and the reaction from those fans, the emotions from those fans, particularly, of course, the players as well at the end and Eddie Howe, but the support, the black and white scarves around that Wembley Stadium was remarkable. And this is why fans love it. And this is why we play the game, Rob. I just thought it was a brilliant day of cup football with one team just wanting it, Rob, so much more, wanting it so much more from the way that they started the game. You're right. My first note is, wow, high energy from Newcastle United. You're right. The press was there. There was no nervousness. Often cup finals, and I know I've played in 3 of them and not done great in all 3. I know what the nerves is like, and I know what the expectations like. And I remember me playing for Middlesbrough. We were hoping to make history for the club, and same with Newcastle United. But they showed up, Rob, and I just couldn't. I just thought they were at their very best, and we've spoke about Newcastle all season long, and their best, what it looks like. It looks like physicality. It looks like power. It looks like Joelinton in beast mode in midfield, just running himself into the ground, Rob. Like, just they were not going to be stopped winning this title. We'll get on to Liverpool's performance, but I just, with the team that was picked and Anthony Gordon not being available, being suspended from the game, I thought Harvey Barnes, well, I think we both agree he's a really, really good player and a great player to come in. So, just big picture, Rob, initial was, wow, what a performance from the back 4, from Dan Burn, and we'll get to him, the midfield and the front players. Isak gets his goal. And just the scenes and the emotions was a magnificent day.
I mean, Liverpool fans are certainly not going to want to hear it, and I'll understand why. But I almost kind of felt, I'd love to see Newcastle win it, Rob. They haven't won one in 70 years. Liverpool, all intents and purposes, are going to lift the Premier League trophy. So the League Cup would have been a nice double, but wouldn't have meant as much. This cup to this club, for what they've been, there's a generation, Rob, of Newcastle teams we played against who've had success and got Champions League football on the odd occasion.
Yeah, good teams, Rob.
Good teams, good players, good managers. But when this group, when this club were in the 3rd tier of English football, they're still selling out, Rob. They're still packed houses. So these 50,000 people who are supporting that club, regardless, to be honest, wherever they are. So to have a day like today, to have that, there was so many scenes that it took. And I remember when the first goal goes in, and I know you want to talk about Dan Burn, who was such a threat from the corners that Liverpool never dealt with. But there was one great shot of a Newcastle fan, a female Newcastle fan, with obviously all the gear on, shouting. And you could see in her face, and she was saying to somebody next to her, like, they got the goal, but it's almost like she couldn't believe. She couldn't think she's going to have to wait 90 minutes and they're going to get there. Chiesa comes on late and gets one with 3-4 minutes to go. And I guarantee you, the however many 50, 60,000, however look like more turned up, would have all been saying, oh no, here we go again. But they got over the line. They deserved it. It's a massive credit to Eddie Howe, who talked after the game, Robert. 2 or 3 weeks, he said, we've been working on this, our set pieces, our intensity, our mindset. It just looked like the perfect execution. Enjoy tonight. I'm envious of what Newcastle town centre, and you know that area, Rob. You lived up in Middlesbrough. I'm envious what that's going to be like tonight, and I'm telling you now, it'll be a public holiday up there tomorrow. Nobody's going to work in school.
Absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, we were kind of a rival. There's three big clubs in the northeast: Sunderland, Middlesbrough, and Newcastle. Newcastle are the biggest club, and it's always been a fun from the others about the lack of success over the years. Just when you say the story, Rob, about the female fan, Newcastle fan, I saw right at the end, and I thought it was a really powerful image of a father just looking at his son, and his son was in disbelief. And his dad just took a few seconds just to look at his face to sort of see what it meant to him and what it meant in his eyes. It was such a kind of a cool moment. This is when the whistle went and everyone's going crazy. And this guy was just looking at his son's face. And I thought that was kind of powerful as well. And they live for football up there, Rob. It's not, it's not the most cosmopolitan cities in the world or the area, the northeast. They absolutely live for their football. So, I hope that it comes across to the watchers and listeners of this podcast what it means to Newcastle United, and I think you could see that the players' mouth that made them proud. They'll have a week of national holidays, mate. That town is going to be absolutely bouncing for the next week into next weekend as well. So fair play. A lot of these players go off for international duty now. They'll be absolutely buzzing, I would think. Just seeing some of the scenes in the dressing room afterwards, and Eddie Howe, kind of an awkward manager that was thrown in the middle of the dressing room and sprayed with champagne. I mean, he does look a little awkward in that situation. He's such a quiet, respectful thinker, and the first English guy to win a trophy, Rob, for years and years and years as well, I think. I mean, we were Harry Redknapp was the last one in
2007.
2008 was it? I think it was the 8 with the FA Cup with Portsmouth. So no, it was brilliant. It was brilliant, and the game was as Newcastle would have dreamt it to be. Powerful, very quick, using the emotion, didn't do anything rash. No. And I am going to jump to my guy, and it's my underappreciated performer of the weekend, and it has to be Dan Burn. What a week. What a week for Dan Burn, getting his first ever call-up to the senior team in the England national team, with Thomas Tuchel calling him up, and Tuchel basically saying, I'm surprised he's not been called up before. And also Tuchel hinted that the reaction from Dan Burn on the phone was pretty special. And I can only imagine, mate, I can only imagine Dan Burn's feelings tonight after being called up for England, being a regular first choice player in that back four, whether it's left back, whether it's centre back. And this kid, of course, when he was a kid, I think he was 11 years old, Rob, he got rejected from Newcastle.
Newcastle United fan, isn't he?
Then he got rejected, and then 18 years later, I think he's back there doing this. So he is underappreciated by everybody, by us, probably by maybe not the fans, and certainly not by his manager, Eddie Howe. And I actually spoke to Dan Burn at our last summer series, Rob. I went into the city, and I met a few of the players. I met Nick Pope and Dan Burn, and actually both of them. What wonderful, I don't know, just representations of the football club. Very softly spoken but respectful, and I couldn't be more happy for those two. I mean, Nick Pope made a couple of good saves, Rob, but Dan Burn, special mention to him, underappreciated maybe throughout his career. And it's kind of rare that the good guys get the good days, and today was one that he'll never forget.
Yeah, he won the man of the match, Rob, and maybe yesterday, or you're thinking about this game, you think, oh, it's a Salah day, or it's a Van Dijk day, or it's a Dan Burn day, Robert. And what a week. I'm almost thinking, I might just have to retire if I'm Dan Burn now. Just got called up for England, just won the League Cup for your boyhood club. Incredible scenes. So, it's a really good shout. An honest pro who's worked hard, who's come through the ranks, Rob, who's played in lower league, who's been rejected, who's had to take that on and making the most of it. Absolute congratulations.
I think he stacked shelves, I think, Rob.
Yeah, he's been in a
supermarket, stacking shelves.
And it's not been easy. And you can tell that in the way he plays and the way he addresses himself and the way that he's committed to the team. And I'm sure Eddie Howe, as with the rest of the players, are delighted for him because, as you say, he's one of the good guys who isn't generally going to get the spotlight, who doesn't win man of the match regular, who isn't a match winner in many games. He just does his job, goes about his business. And interesting, Rob, just on before we move, Dan Burn kind of was bought, was he a centre-back at Brighton? And then he went to a left-back for Newcastle for many years. Then with the injuries, they moved him back to centre-back, where he's been excellent this season, enough to get called into the England squad. I mean, that's real versatility, that's real commitment, that's, not worrying, not arguing about playing left-back when he wanted to be centre-back, doing a job for the team. Good eggs, Rob, I call them. Good eggs in your dressing room. You can't have too many of them.
We will get to Liverpool in a second, Rob, but when you say that, it don't have, remind me a little bit of what I had to do, to stay at a club that was going places, and I had to change my game a little bit. And if anybody asked me my key word of my longevity as a pro, it was adaptability. That was my key word. I was an adaptable player. I could adapt to changes the players that we brought in. And I think when you're talking about Dan Burn like that, that's kind of what I'd say for him. He's adaptable, Rob, and he's made the very best of the tools that he was given. He's not very quick. He can't play amazing passes, but he's very good on the ball. Of course, his height helps. And he rarely gets beat, and he does it with heart and with brain and with determination, and he's absolute credit to himself and the club. Let's get to Liverpool, Rob, because this was a bit of a shocker for them. You could say they didn't show up. I thought when they made the subs midway through the second half, they looked a little bit more lively as Nunes came on and Curtis Jones come on. But what a performance, Rob, that lacked energy. That were not able to handle Newcastle's intensity. And it is a strong intensity, I'll get that. But didn't you expect more of a fight from Liverpool? And why didn't you see it?
Don't know, Rob, if there's an overspill from the PSG game. Extra time, penalties, disappointment, emotional drain. I'm looking at it that way. I've got to be honest, Bex asked us, both Tim and I were in studio this weekend, what would you fancy? I said, don't know why I got feeling for Newcastle. Just had a little sense for Newcastle, and I couldn't particularly put my finger on why. In some respects, I don't think, if I look back over the last 5 or 6 weeks, I'm not sure Liverpool have played particularly well. I think they've won games. I think they've scored goals, but I'm not sure they've been playing particularly well. And I always feel that can always come against you when you need to. I just felt that the biggest kind of slur on Liverpool, they didn't match intensity. It almost felt like Newcastle wanted this more. It was like Newcastle went today. They weren't coming away without a trophy. No. I never got the sense that it was quite the same drive from Liverpool, which was disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, whether there's a hangover from the PSG game, possibly. I think the thing, that the flatness in their football, they obviously wanted a slower game. And when Liverpool... they looked comfy when they could slow it down, but there wasn't that much time that was available. I mean, Newcastle were in their faces too much and were too aggressive with their pressing. And we've seen Liverpool before. It's only a few weeks ago where I remember talking about their ferocious counter pressing and winning the ball back and how hard they worked. Was it the Southampton game or maybe a couple of games before that? I was like, God, it was a regular game, but they were driving. They were driving to win the Premier League title and to find that gap, which they've got, and they deserve to be right there, and they're probably going to go ahead and do that. But maybe it was a little bit too much, Rob. And could you say, throwing it back to your side, could you say that Arne Slot, in recent games, and I know he's had some big games, but the Southampton game, I think there's a couple before that, could there have been a bit more rest and rotation to keep the team strong? Or I mean, I'm not sure I believe it, that the answer is yes, because you've got Champions League. You don't want to really slow down in the Premier League, no matter who you're playing. But could have done anything different, Rob, I says, do you think, in getting a stronger kind of performance?
It was interesting that after the game, he said it was a Newcastle type of performance that we couldn't play at. And he said if we play them 10 times and they play in that way, they'll win 9 of them. So it was almost, which was quite frank. I got to be honest, I don't necessarily see that whether the rest of rotation. We've seen quite a bit of that. We've seen Curtis Jones have minutes. We've seen Elliott have minutes. We've seen Jota come back in. Trent got injured, but it is obviously a miss. Simicast has been in for Robertson.
Mo Salah was flat.
Yeah,
he's been
Mo
flat.
Salah,
Diaz has been flat.
Thought Livermancho looked up for the game. He's quick. He's physical. He's a good defender. When you're looking for spot, in other weeks, Liverpool couldn't play like that, and Mo's got them out of the hole. He's done 2-3 things in the game that they've got him out of the hole. It wasn't happening today, and so they didn't have that get out of jail card that I call it, that Mo Salah is for you in the Premier League and competitions beyond. So another bad day, Rob, back-to-back defeats. And I suppose the bigger picture is, I mean, the 12-point gap at the top of the table. They play Everton in the Merseyside derby when we return from international break. Beck, we were talking off air during, as we were watching the game, and like, is there a chance of a little wobble? Your 12 points clear. Is there a chance of a wobble?
That's a shock Rebecca asking. It's a shock Rebecca asking that question. She's hoping for a little.
Basically,
little
if Everton could beat Liverpool and with 9 points, and then the two teams have got to play May 10th.
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
Have we got a little bit? Could we ring a little bit out in this title race still?
Well, yeah, possibly. I mean, you could argue they're running out of steam a little bit with these recent performances in games that I mean, I know PSG were a really, really good side, and it was a tough game, but you still, I don't know, I still think they left a little bit in that tie over the two legs, and they certainly look tired today. I don't think it'll be a big enough wobble, Rob, for them to lose the lead, But yeah, I mean, Everton on a run. They're not losing games right now, so that'll be a difficult one. But I just think with a little bit of a break, and of course, you never know what your players are doing internationally. Are they playing 2 games? Are they playing all the games? There's always a bit of concern. So Arne Slot will be a little bit concerned until those players come back. But if they come back with no problems and maybe a little bit of rest, because international football is a little different and different players play. I kind of see them roaring back, actually, mate, in that derby. It's just like, that's a final. That's a League Cup final that they didn't.
And that would have been his first trophy, wouldn't it? I know the Premier League is probably going to come and great teams, but that would have been his first one, Rob. And that's a double if you get the 2. That's a big disappointment for him, I think, today. Yeah, it is. But I mean, I guess he's learning, Rob. He's still learning, and he's still figuring out what he might need, and whether that might be a striker. We'll see. The midfield were a little quieter today. Gravenberch wasn't quite. It was just a bit of an off day for Liverpool. It's just, I'm sure their fans are a little gutted, really. They've had a tough week. But I think we're going to be pitch side, mate, on the last game of the season, watching them lift the trophy at Anfield. So.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Lowe, and as we head towards the end of an exciting Premier League season, make sure you like and subscribe on the NBC Sports YouTube channel for more content like this.